Hi, my name's Stephanie Dax, and I'm the program coordinator for the Student Conservation Association in Pittsburgh. And I've designed programs and curriculum for after school, in school, and summer camps for the past 10 or so years. And today I'm going to talk about some activities that relate to how land sheds water and absorbs water, and activities that get our students out and playing with and experimenting with the nature around them. So first off, I'll say I'm currently next to the Monongahela River, which I don't think you can see. It's right there. Because I like to do these activities near a water source because it's nice to have that access to fill up any cups or rain pails, watering pails that you may need. Just throwing out, but not necessary, but it's better than bringing water with you. But the first activity in this array of activities is basically having your students go around and pour water on surfaces. And it's very open-ended. You give them a cup or they use their water bottle and they just pour water and make mental notes or write down notes, however your students like to learn, on any surfaces. Watch it absorb, watch it run off, anything. So I'm not going to show you that because it's pretty simply just pouring water. And you could let that go on as long as you want. It's nice to push it a little in time just so they start experimenting. The second part of the activity is to have them create a small diorama, if you will, for either a Lego man or an action figure. Lego man maybe if you don't want to disrupt the soil and outdoor environment too much, action figure if you have that freedom. So I've designed one and I'll show you that now. So behind me I have the small diorama I've created, and when you do this activity you want to give them a good amount of time to build it so creativity starts flowing and get over those barriers. I say maybe a half an hour, and they can use any of the materials around them, and whatever they create, it works. You could set some restrictions if you want, like for when I do it with people building that I'm teaching to build trails, we talk about creating a trail in a park. So imagine a park you've been to or don't, and a trail you've been on, and you can recreate that or recreate your own trail. What's it going through? What's it going to? What's the purpose of it? So whatever fits your topic. So I went with a trail again, and I'll give you a little look. I'll zoom in a little here. So I have, is it zooming in? Yeah. I had only this little dinosaur, and he's walking through these wetlands I've created with these sticks, and he's on this bridge, and you know, we've got a little retaining wall, and his end goal is this lovely plateau rock there. Now, we've got this nice thing we've created, but the part of this activity is to see how water's going to flow when it rains, or where it's going to go. So in my park, these are lakes or swamps, because they have these dead trees in them, that would already be filled with water, potentially, depending on the time of the season, or if there's a drought. But we've got this, and I've got my watering pail, so I'm going to go grab that. And as a group, you could go around and observe how everybody's trail works when it rains. So, where does the water go? Does it absorb into the soil? What happens when it hits certain surfaces? And where does it, puddle up? So it's already puddling up in my little creeks that are supposed to be puddled. So why is this soil creating little puddles? And I've got my trail here and it's wet. Do I want it to be wet? And that's more something more relevant for building trails. How wet are these? Are there puddles on my bog bridges that I've created? But that's for trail work. Anyway, so that's part 2 of the activity. And again, these activities are kind of ways to just get your students out and playing with their surroundings, because you could learn a lot by just getting that hands-on feel and experimenting on your own time and creating your own little worlds and seeing what happens to them. You could even leave this out here and wait for it to rain and then come back and actually have a real rainstorm. So that's that activity. And there's one final piece to this activity, which I'll show you now. So, part 3 to the activity has to do, and it doesn't have to be tied into those other ones, but we saw how some of the water sat on the soil and some of it ran off the rocks, ran off the logs, soaked in a little, but we saw different absorptions into different materials. So the next part requires a little pre-planning, though you could make it with your students. So I have this plastic, clear-ish, it's the only thing I had, container, and then I've taped some chicken wire, you could use mesh if you want, to the bottom. And I'll show you that after I empty it out. But you'd have your students in pairs, groups, individually, depending on how many of these you want to make. At least 2 if you want to do contests. 1 if you want to just demonstrate, more if you want more. But fill it, and you could either set a limit, like you have to fill it with 3 different materials, or have it open-ended. But fill it with some materials from here. So you could have debris, you could have soil, you could have different types of soil. Maybe you're by a river where there's sand, and other parts have a lot of clay. You could have rocks, whatever you have around you. Bark, trees, sticks, grass, etc. So around here right now, there's really only a lot of sticks, knotweed, and this one type of very thick, silty soil from the river. So I just filled it all with that to see how well that drains. And so what you do is have 2 containers, if you're doing competitions, filled with an equal amount of water, so it's fair. And you've got your filled vessels, and you pour the water on as quickly as you can, or as equally as you can in speed. So I'm going to pour all my water on. And how fast does it drain out of the bottom? You time it however you want. So pretty fast, probably because I've got some pretty sandy river soil here. But you could experiment with different materials, and that's basically just, and then have discussions on why certain materials hold the water, why other materials let it through, what have you. So you could have as long or short of a discussion as you want. But here's that container with the chicken wire that I kind of crossed over. You could also use screen mesh, something with holes that's not going to be part of what holds it in. So large enough to hold your stuff in, but or small enough to hold the stuff in, but large enough to let water pass through. And then I just duct taped it there. So those are the activities. Again, these activities are a way to explore. And personally, I think self-exploration of the world is one of the best ways to learn and retain that information, because you get to learn in the way that you learn best, or by your choice, with that open-endedness, ideally. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you later.